Hey, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of With Love Lola, where we sip the tea, spill the truth, and sit in the gray between right and wrong. I'm your host, Lola, your internet big sister, here to read the stories you can't stop thinking about and say the things you're only brave enough to whisper in your group chat. Let's get into it. My husband went to a work dinner with the woman and was gone 5 hours, wasn't where he said he'd be, and wouldn't respond to my calls and texts. I kicked him out and he says I'm overreacting. Can anyone help me make sense of what happened here? Most likely you're not reacting and he's just bitter because you're not a pushover and didn't let him get away with what he was doing. But let's see. My husband of 6 years works in a field where sales reps are constantly vying to get him to use their product. One of the ways they do this is by putting on dinners at upscale restaurants. Think expensive steakhouse. And inviting groups to come listen to a presentation about the product in exchange for a free steak dinner. So far this year, my husband has attended upwards of 40 of these dinners. I find this a little excessive, especially considering we have a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old at home. And I rarely get a reciprocal night out. For context, we've been out together without the kids 4 times in the past year. 40 dinners, damn! I have asked him to cut back on these dinners, but he refuses, saying he hopes to leverage these relationships into brand-sponsored speaking opportunities that could become a temporary source of secondary income. To his credit, this has happened before, and he has made some good money before his stint as a speaker ended. Anytime I complain about the number of dinners he attends, he accuses me of not caring about our financial situation, or even outright trying to sabotage it. It is my understanding that he attends far more of these dinners than most people in his field. Okay, on to the dinner in question. Last week, he forwarded me a screenshot of a text from a sales rep who said she would be in town for 2 nights and wanted to have dinner with just him while she was there. This is fairly unusual, as most dinners are group affairs with friends and colleagues. On one other occasion, he has met with a sales rep one-on-one, but it was an older man. On this occasion, it was an attractive woman around our age. I looked her up on socials. They agreed to meet on Monday at 6:30 at a nice tapas restaurant in an expensive part of town because, according to my husband, it was close to her hotel. Made sense, though I raised an eyebrow at his phrasing. He got annoyed, but I pointed out that it was a dumb thing to say to your wife when you're meeting a woman for dinner at a nice restaurant. I agree. 100% agree. He left the house at 6:04. For context, I am extremely sleep deprived. I'm up with the new baby several times a night, and my husband has refused to participate in night feedings. So by 9, I was tired and really wanted to sleep, but the baby was colicky and crying and was keeping my toddler awake. I texted my husband to find out when he thought he'd be home so I could have a sense of how long it'd be before I could sleep. In the text, it said it was no big deal. Just give me a ballpark idea of when you'll be home. He didn't respond. He wears an Apple Watch and is constantly responding to texts on his phone. So it was annoying to me that he couldn't give me an ETA after 3 hours at dinner. I called him at 9:15 and he sent me straight to voicemail. I called again at 9:30 with the same result. At this point, I texted and told him I was calling the restaurant. When I did, the host told me there was no one in the restaurant and he could confidently say that no one matching my husband's description had been into the restaurant at all that night. I texted that I was calling his parents to see if they had heard from him. They hadn't. Finally, at almost 10, I texted and told him not to come home. 15 minutes after my last text, he sent me an automated text from his GPS app telling me he'd be home by 10:20. I texted again and told him to go to his parents' house. He showed up anyway and I wouldn't let him in. He didn't have keys. He said I was acting crazy. He said the tapas restaurant was more like a sports bar, so they went to a nicer place across the street. He said his phone was in his pocket on silent, except he had to have declined the calls in order to send me straight to voicemail. He said he was trying to generate revenue for our family. He said my self-esteem was not his problem. He said my behavior had better be a symptom of PMDD. What's PMDD? PMDD? Post something. Oh, what? Premenstrual dysphoric disorder is a severe form of premenstrual syndrome characterized by significant emotional and behavioral symptoms that occur before menstruation. So he's like, you better just be getting your period. He said I was creating events in my mind. Long story short, I didn't let him in. Good job. Proud of you. He slept at his parents and came over to the house in the morning to get his stuff. He's there again tonight after going to yet another dinner, and likely will be for the foreseeable future. I think his behavior was shady and disrespectful to me, but he thinks I've blown the whole thing out of proportion. I'm so tired that I can't make sense of it, and I need to ask Reddit if I'm justified in my anger, or if he's right and I'm blowing this out of proportion. What do you think? Thanks in advance. I'm not married. I don't have these problems. Thank God. Please don't let me have these problems. But you would think, right? Let me just hey guys, my wife was already suspicious from the way I worded this dinner. It is a little weird that I'm going one-on-one with a girl who's our age and attractive and by her hotel, right? Late at night. Why not put her at ease? Why make it more difficult and try to make the woman look crazy? Why not? You have your Apple Watch. You obviously saw her text. You just didn't care. If you truly cared about your wife, right? She just had a baby. She has a newborn and she has a toddler, right? You're also a father. God forbid something happened to your kid. You have to be reachable. You wouldn't want her to have that peace of mind like, hey, my wife's calling me. I gotta go. She needs me. Is she okay? I know I'm out all day. You're home with yourself, with the kids. It's a lot. It's a lot to be with kids. Not that I have any, but I have siblings who have kids and I'm a very active on their life. And it's a lot. When I have to do babysitting duties by myself, I'm like overstimulated all the time. It's a lot. And to know, the thing is, it's different as an aunt, but when it's your husband where it's like equally the parent of that child, you bear some sort of responsibility to be there for them. So leaving her hanging like that is 10 shades of effed up. This comment, I'm going to read it because this hits the nail on the head. And they say, the best case scenario is that your husband just doesn't give a shit about you or your family. That's the best case. Worse is what's more likely that he's cheating. I'm a doctor and I've been to these dinners. Your husband is the big fish here, not the rep. They're trying to impress him, not the other way around. There's absolutely no reason he can't step away and take your calls or end it early. And most importantly, no reason he can't say no to dinners in favor of being a father and husband. Thank you. And also, on what planet does this 35-year-old rep hold the keys to him becoming a lucrative speaker? All of it is bullshit. Tell him if he's so concerned about financials, he should reconsider the cost of a divorce, alimony, and child support. Oh, I love that. Yeah. It sucks, but that's that. Am I wrong for not tipping after overhearing what my waitress said about me? I, 30 female, was at a restaurant last night with my mother. She was meeting my boyfriend's mom for the first time. We're punctual people, so we got there about 30 minutes before our reservation. We got seated with no issues. It took the waitress 20 minutes to get to our table, even though the restaurant was pretty empty. Right away, I could tell she didn't want to wait on us. She didn't greet us with a hello, she just asked what we wanted to drink. We told her I noticed that she didn't write down our order. It took another 15 minutes for our drinks to get to the table, and they were wrong. It's hard to mess up a ginger ale and a vodka soda, but she did. My mom pointed out that she didn't order a Pepsi, and the waitress rolled her eyes and took my mother's glass and disappeared. I excused myself to use the washroom shortly after. I had no idea where I was going, so I went to the entrance to ask one of the hostesses there. While I was walking up to the server area, I overheard my waitress talking to some other hostess. She was pissed that she had to wait on a black table because they never tip well. My mother and I were the only black people in the restaurant. She wasn't even whispering when she said it either. I wasn't stunned, but her lack of effort started to make sense. I interrupted their conversation and I asked where the bathroom was. I didn't let on that I heard what they were talking about. When I got out of the bathroom, my boyfriend and his mom were already seated. My boyfriend and his mom were white. When my waitress saw the rest of our party, she did a 180. Her service was stellar. She took notes, told jokes, and our water glasses were always filled. She didn't make another mistake. Because the night went so well, I decided to treat everyone and pay the check. Gave me the machine and I smiled at her while I keyed 0% for a tip. She didn't notice until after the receipt had been printed out. By that time, all of us had already started to leave. She tapped me on the shoulder and asked if I had made a mistake on the bill. I told her I didn't think so and looked at the receipt. She asked if there was a problem with her service, and I said her service was fantastic, but since I was a black woman, I don't tip well. Her face went white. She kind of laughed nervously, and I laughed as well. I walked out after that, but my boyfriend's mom asked what had happened. I told her what I overheard, and my boyfriend's mom said that I should have tipped her anyway because it shows character. She seemed pretty pissed at me after that. My boyfriend and my mom are both on my side, but I'm wondering if I should have just thrown in a $2 tip. Ew, absolutely not. What the fudge? Of course she can say that because it wasn't about her. That's the thing, like, she's white. She doesn't really experience racism like that. So it's like easy to be like, oh no, like it's okay. Like you still should have tipped her because even though she was a complete racist to you, you still should have tipped her. Like, no, how do people learn from their behavior? Like you shouldn't talk about people like that if they can or can't overhear you. You know, like you tip people because they did a well job. You're exceptional. Why would you tip someone who made such racist remarks about you? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that's just bummer. I called my wife ungrateful, canceled our date, and left her in the car to cry. How do I make her feel what I felt? My wife and I have been together for 2 years now, just got married recently. We are compatible in every other way except when it comes to her idea of gestures and how she feels love. She actually really likes traditional romantic things. It doesn't come naturally to me, but I oblige because it makes her happy. One of the things she wanted me to do on one of our dinners together was for me to pick her up in my car, get her flowers, open the door for her, and other stuff she wanted me to do. We live in a very convenient spot from which we get things delivered in just under 5 to 7 minutes through an online app. I had forgotten to get flowers for her, so last minute I just ordered it off the app. They were beautiful and she said she's really happy about the gesture. I said, no worries, I can get you flowers every day. Somehow I ended up blurting out that I ordered it off the app. Her expression immediately changed and she said she doesn't feel special anymore. Like it was as good as gifting her a bag of Doritos because no real effort went on my part. She angrily said she would have felt at least a little special had I placed an order directly from a florist had I researched on first. The app I order flowers from is the same app you order stuff on a whim when we run out, such as bread and milk. I was feeling frustrated at this point and admittedly got mad at her because it felt so silly and I felt unappreciated from the lack of gratitude when she said my gesture doesn't feel thoughtful anymore. I said, was the gift thoughtless or are you thankless? She started crying. I ended up leaving her in the car downstairs in the complex and headed upstairs as I no more felt like having dinner with her. Like, okay, just by the title alone, you seem a little angry. Like, you can't say, like, I want her to feel how I felt. That's sentiment that leads to divorce. You don't want, like, you don't, when you feel hurt or some type of way, you don't say, I want her to feel how I felt. It has to be like, I want to explain that this is how this made me feel, not that you should feel how I felt. You have to be able to share your feelings without placing blame and like bridge the disconnect. Like, it's okay. Be humble enough to accept that you might not fully understand her position before like immediately dismissing it. Like, I don't know, trying to make each other seek hurt because you were hurt is a cycle that leads to deep, deep resentment and then divorce. Gosh, oblige. You sound a little toxic, brother. You sound like you have some red flags in there. Or I wish the wife I could talk to. Where's her story? My girlfriend nearly drowned because she was starving herself to look better for me. I need advice. Last week, I, 28 male, and my girlfriend, 26 female, were at my parents' place just hanging out. She was chilling in the pool and I was playing with the dogs. I stepped inside for a second to grab a drink, came back out, and she was gone underwater. I jumped in and pulled her out. She was completely out. I did CPR and mouth to mouth. I thought she was about to die in my arms. Then she gasped, started throwing up water, shaking and crying. I've never been that scared in my life. That image is stuck in my head on a loop. A few hours later in the ER, she was finally stabilized. When I saw her, she didn't even know what had happened. I told her, she cried, thanked me, said I saved her life, and she was beyond grateful. I asked what happened, and she said she just felt dizzy. That's it. Next day, she gets discharged, and I try to get more out of her. I asked if she ate anything that day. I already knew she'd been skipping meals for a while. She lied at first, but then admitted that she hadn't eaten in like 5 days. She said she wanted to look good in a bikini since she knew we were going on this trip. She just didn't think she'd pass out. I lost it. I screamed at her. I called her stupid. I regret that so much. I apologized later, but at the time I was just mad and scared. She cried and said she was sorry. Then she said she feels fat and didn't want me to feel disgusted. That's insane. I see her naked almost every day. I love her body. We have a great nightlife together. I've never given her a reason to feel insecure. I knew she wasn't eating much, but I didn't think she was literally starving herself. She was already skinny when we met, but now she's even smaller and still says she feels fat. I'm just pissed at myself. I love her so much. She means everything to me. She's the kindest, sweetest, most amazing girl I've ever had. I tell her I love her all the time, and she still thought she had to starve herself to look better for me. I guess I stopped telling her she's pretty because I thought she knew. She's beautiful. Everyone tells her that. We haven't really talked about it since, but I know we need to. I just need to know how to start the conversation. I don't know what to do. How do I start this conversation? I talked to her and she admitted she's been struggling with eating for a long time. She also told me that whenever we go out or have a date and she eats more, she ends up starving herself for the next few days to make up for it. That hit me hard. I always thought she enjoyed those moments, and now I found out she's been punishing herself after. I brought up treatment and she said she's scared, but she wants to get better. I don't really know where to start, but I promised her we'll figure it out together. Not to like diagnose, but this just really sounds like anorexia. Yeah, or like it sounds like a really bad eating disorder. I think there's like eating disorder therapies you can get her into, but that could have ended really bad. And it's, you know, I feel like so many, if not every girl has some sort of like body dysmorphia in some sort of way. Like anytime I speak to people, like girls who I think are like the skinniest people out there, they're just like, oh my God, no, like I'm so fat. And I'm like, what? What are you saying? Am I wrong for publicly humiliating my wife at her workplace after discovering her affair? No. Okay, next. I'm just kidding. I don't even know where to begin. My wife, Leah, 43 female, and I have been married for 10 years. We have 2 beautiful children, our 5-year-old son and 2-year-old daughter. I thought we were happy, or at least I thought we were trying. But 4 weeks ago, my entire life came crashing down. I, 46 male, started to notice when she was glued to her phone more than usual. Leah has always been private, but this was different. She smiled at her screen, then immediately locked it when I walked into the room. One night after she fell asleep, I couldn't resist. I checked her phone. What I found still makes me sick to my stomach. There were messages with the coworker Eric, 48 male, going back years. Twisted texts, photos, promises of love, even references to secret trips they'd taken while I was at home with the kids, believing she was working late. Oh no. My heart was racing, my hands trembling. I confronted her the next morning. At first, she denied it, said I was misunderstanding. But when I read the messages out loud, her face crumbled. She admitted it. She said it started 4 years ago, long before our youngest was born. She tried to justify it. We were distant, we were struggling, but nothing could excuse this. I started digging deeper. I followed her to work one day, needing to see it for myself. Sure enough, after her shift, she walked out arm in arm with Eric. They didn't even try to hide it. They got into his car and drove off. I followed them to a restaurant where they sat like a happy couple, laughing, holding hands. It broke me. But what shattered me completely was when I learned they built their own life together. They'd been renting an apartment near work, a place where she'd go when she was working overtime. I saw them go inside, watching them from my car parking on the street a few blocks away. I checked on them for about 4 nights and they had the same routine. That's when I snapped. I packed all of her belongings, everything she owned, into the back of my car and drove to her workplace the next morning after spying on them. I know I did wrong. When she walked out, I dumped everything right there on the sidewalk in front of her and her coworkers. I told her she wasn't coming home. Since then, I filed for divorce and I'm fighting for full custody of the kids. She's begging me to forgive her, saying she doesn't want to lose the family we built. But how can I? Friends and family keep asking me if I regret how I handled it, publicly humiliating her, kicking her out without notice. I do. She tore our family apart, and the least she could do is face some accountability. But I can't help but feel like the bad guy for how I acted. I've had nights where I felt very lonely and I miss her. Of course, I'm also attending to therapy sessions to be better for the kids and for myself. All I care about are them. They don't deserve this chaos. And as much as it hurts, I know they are better off with me than someone who could live a lie for so long. So, am I the asshole? No, sorry, still. There's nothing in this world that could ever make me condemn cheating. Ever, 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 ever. Talk. You have a mouth, use it. Talk about how you're feeling. You don't say, well, you were like distant from me and like I was feeling neglected, so I went and I slept with another man. How ridiculous you sound. You know how mature you sound. You guys, I think people take marriage way too lightly sometimes, they just don't care about you enough in the first place. When the other person's down, the other one should be bringing them up. Like, people like to say marriage isn't 50-50, it's 100-100. When one person's lacking, you got to make up the other percentage. If you felt some sort of type of way, why didn't you tell him? Why didn't you tell him? Why do you let yourself get swayed by other people? And it sucks because kids are involved. I hate it when there are kids involved in these type of messy divorces, which happens more often than not. You know, because her timeline is a little weird, I would consider getting a DNA test just to be safe. I mean, not to rub salt in the wound, but I would just to be, you really never know. And an STD test. Better be safe. Am I wrong for not attending my sister's wedding because of her wedding tax? Oh my God. Another case of people having weddings they can't afford. Here we go. So here's the backstory. My younger sister Emily is getting married in a couple of months, and while I'm super happy for her, there's been some drama over the whole wedding planning process. Emily and her fiance decided to have a small wedding, which I totally understand, but they also decided to impose a wedding tax on family members attending. They have a list of wedding expenses, things like venue decor and catering, and they expect each family member to contribute extra to make it all happen. To top it off, her fiance's family is also chipping in, making the whole thing feel less like a celebration and more like a business deal. When my sister brought this up, I couldn't help but voice my concern. I told her it felt unfair to ask family to cover the cost on top of giving a gift. I suggested maybe doing a more budget-friendly wedding so that everyone could enjoy it, but she brushed aside my suggestions. We had a huge argument about it, and it turned into a shouting match. I told her that weddings should be about love, not financial burdens. In the weeks that followed, she refused to speak to me and even blocked my number for a while. I felt really hurt, but then I received an invitation to the wedding, complete with the note saying that if I wasn't chipped in, I shouldn't bother coming. I've been debating whether or not to go. On one hand, I want to support my sister, but on the other hand, I feel like it's really messed up to so blatantly ask for cash from family. My parents think I should just suck it up, contribute, and attend for the sake of family, while my friends are telling me I'd be better off skipping it altogether. So, am I the asshole for considering not going to my sister's wedding because of the wedding tax? Am I being a jerk for standing my ground on what I believe should be a joyful occasion and not a financial obligation? Also, my sister did not make me a bridesmaid, but I'm totally okay with that. But she's having her wedding in a really expensive hotel, and so she's asking everyone for money, but she is not paying for anyone's hotel room, and I'm expected to pay around $250 to $1,000. Parents are the problem too, enabling this big stupid behavior. No, it's for the fam. No, your daughter's being stupid. Why would you ever expect people to contribute to their wedding? Is bonkers to me. You can't afford it. Stay in your tax bracket. Have the wedding. Don't get me wrong, weddings are expensive for no goddamn reason. I know that. People know that, but have what you can afford. Luckily, we have an update. So, after much deliberation, I decided to stand my ground and not attend Emily's wedding. I sent her a heartfelt message explaining my reasons, reiterating that I love her but can't support what feels like exploitation of family when joining a celebration. I thought that might lead to some sort of resolution or at least a civil conversation. But boy, was I wrong. The day of the wedding rolled around and out of nowhere, I received a text from my mom freaking out because Emily's wedding has fallen into chaos. Apparently, guests who paid the fee were fighting about seating arrangements, and some of the vendors canceled last minute, putting everything in disarray. My mom was in a tizzy, insisting that it was all my fault for not supporting the family during this important event. Took a step back. That wasn't guilt tripping enough for my vibe. But then I received a call from our aunt who was furious. She blamed me for Emily's wedding day being ruined, which I found ridiculous considering I wasn't even there. My aunt accused me of causing a divide within the family over money and tarnishing the spirit of the occasion. If only she had seen the way Emily chose to treat her family like ATMs. The gall of some people. Who are you to call me about? You should have gave her more money. There, problem solved. As things continued to spiral, I heard through the grapevine that Emily's wedding day somehow went even more volatile. Guests who had fronted the cash got into arguments over the wedding tax and felt cheated when the food didn't match the expensive price tag. And right after dinner, a huge fight broke out. One of Emily's friends was tossed out for making a scene about the money they had to contribute, and it quickly escalated to shouting, with both the bride and groom caught in the crossfire. But it gets crazier. My sister's new mother-in-law decided to throw her own fit, demanding a refund because she felt cheated on the wedding package. Emily was left sobbing in the corner, clearly feeling overwhelmed, and the whole scene turned into a reality show level of drama. Her fiancé was left apologizing while the bridal party tried to salvage what little grace remained. Eventually, I got another message from Emily, conveyed through my mom. It was a half-hearted apology along the lines of, "I'm sorry it turned out this way, but you still owe me." Nothing about clarity on expenses or acknowledging how bizarre the whole situation was. Now I'm feeling a mixed bag of emotions. I mean, I do feel sympathy for my sister. No one wants their big day overshadowed by chaos. At the same time, it feels a little satisfying knowing my intuition about the wedding tax was spot on. I guess it shows that I wasn't the crazy one. The whole situation was just flawed from the start. So here I am, still uncertain about my future relationship with Emily. Do I reach out and try to mend things? Is it too late, or does this create a moment of clarity for her to reflect on what was really important? Am I the asshole for still holding fast to my beliefs about family and finances when it resulted in such an explosive fallout? Should I just let her contact me if she wants to dive right back in to help pick up the pieces? What is the right move here? Oh my God. Quick update before I give my 2 cents. Her fiance is filing for divorce. Update 2. They ended up not divorcing. However, I think she might be cheating on him. Should I tell him? I haven't talked to them in a long time and he might not believe me. So I'm glad you stood away from all of this. I would have been smiling ear to ear, be like, oh my God, I'm not involved in this drama. I told you so. I told you so. That's how I would feel. Your family's a bunch of enablers. They need to take a chill pill. I would not reach out to your sister. She can reach out to you when she's realized that she has done wrong. And here's the problem. Why the chaos unfolded, right? When you go to someone else's wedding that you don't pay for, right? You are a guest. Those were investors. And when they saw what their money was turned into, they're like, oh no, I don't want this. This is not. They invested into that wedding and it didn't turn out the way they wanted it to be. If I go to a shitty wedding, I'm like, oh, damn, that was a shitty wedding. But thanks for inviting me, right? I'm not going to feel any way about it besides that. If you invested into something and thinking it's going to be this grand, they were scammed. Grand thing. And if it turns out to this like below your expectations, then it's going to bother you and you're going to say something like, no, I paid for this. Where is it? Why is everything looking like this? That's why they feel that type of way. That's the thing. I would never, it sucks because it's your sister, but she doesn't want your support. She wants your money. Financial support, and then she's getting it from everyone else, so she expected it from you. So good for you for stick to your morals, stick to it. Don't let other people sway you, even though they may be doing something you don't agree with and they try to guilt you into it. Don't let them pull you in. All right, you guys, it's time for my favorite part of the episode, the viewer submission, where you guys, listeners, send me your real life stories that I shared right here on the pod. So if you have a story that you want me to share, give my advice on, please make sure to either email it to me or post it on our Reddit page where I can get it there and other people can comment as well. My dad secretly left me out of his will, but not my brother's girlfriend. So my dad passed away 6 months ago. It's been rough. We were close, or at least I thought we were. I'm his oldest daughter, 32 female, and I've always considered myself the responsible one. The one who helped him manage doctor's appointments, medications, paperwork, and all of the hard stuff when he got sick. I have one sibling, my younger brother, Zach, who's 27. He's a lot more laid back, kind of the baby of the family, you know? Never really had a stable job, always chasing some new business idea, and lately he's been dating this girl named Rachel, who no one really gets along with, but whatever, his life, right? Fast forward to last month. We finally sit down for the reading of my dad's will, and I'm expecting, I don't know, something. Not money necessarily, but maybe his truck that I helped fix up, or the watch he always said he wanted me to have. Something. But nope. Everything. His savings, the house, even sentimental stuff was left to Zach. And not just Zach. Zach and Rachel. Her name was literally listed in the will. She got half the house, half his assets, and me, not even a mention. Not even a, to my daughter, I leave. I sat there in stunned silence, thinking maybe this was a mistake. Maybe there was another document. The lawyer said this was his final notarized will, signed 3 months before his passing. I've cried, I've raged, I've questioned everything. I asked my brother about it. He just said dad must have had his reasons. And Rachel, she had the audacity to say, your dad always said I was like the daughter he never had. The daughter he never had. I've been spiraling ever since. Was I blind to the way he really saw me? Was he manipulated? Was it Rachel's idea? Or was this how he truly felt? Now the house I grew up in, the one I painted with him and fixed the pipes in, technically belongs to Rachel and my brother. And they're talking about selling it to start fresh. Would I be petty to contest the will? Or should I just walk away and cut all ties? Because this is giving soap opera villain energy, I don't even know who the villain is anymore. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. She's sleeping with him. I know, I'm sorry. That might be mean to say, but that's like my first guess. But honestly, like, whoa, okay. First of all, sorry for your loss. It's like hard to go through something like that. Losing a parent is already hard enough. But like to be blindsided by that, like that, by your own dad's will, next level pain. That's like the kind of betrayal that doesn't just like hit your heart. It messes like with your whole sense of reality. It's like, what the hell have I been doing this past however long he was sick for? So like, you were there. You supported your dad through his hardest moments. Like, you weren't just a daughter. You were his caregiver, his anchor. And you don't really talk about your mom, but I assume she's not in the picture. And to be completely erased from his will? Like, what the? And he gives it to Rachel? Half the house? Girl, you have every right to be hurt, confused, shocked. I don't know, every single emotion you can think of. When it comes to contesting the will, I don't know. Shoot, how much leeway can you get with that? If you genuinely believe that your dad was manipulated or not in the right mental state when he changed it, I would see what the will was before 3 months ago, before Rachel was in the picture, versus after, and you can find some sort of something to grab onto. It would be worth talking to a lawyer. I'm gonna throw in what I always say, therapy, for the time being while you go through this. Oh, damn. That sucks. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening to With Love Lola. I hope today's stories made you feel seen, heard, or at the very least entertained. Don't be a stranger. I'll be right here next time with more stories, more thoughts, and a little more love. Until next time, take care of yourself. With love, Lola. Bye.